Good afternoon. My name is Larry Berger. I'm head of the Department of Animal Science, and it's our pleasure to host this inaugural cow symposium. We're delighted that you could join us. I trust that you'll find this to be a very valuable experience, and we're really excited about the program and the information that we have that we can share. Just so that everyone enjoys it, we asked if you could turn off your cell phone. That way we won't get interrupted, and everyone around you will be able to hear the speakers. It's my pleasure to introduce the gentleman who's going to welcome you officially to University of Nebraska. Ronnie Green grew up in Virginia. He was on a mixed livestock farm, showed Angus cattle for many years, went to VPI and got his BS there, got a master's at Colorado State, and then a PhD here at the University of Nebraska. After that, he joined Texas Tech, was on faculty there for several years, and then Colorado State recruited him to come and head up their beef genetics research group, and so he spent several years there. Then had an opportunity to go into private industry for a few years, and from there he went to USDA back in Washington. And at that time, he was on the executive secretary of the White House Intra-Agency Working Group dealing with animal genomics. Ronnie's an animal geneticist by training, and he worked a lot with developing the genomes for the various species. Since then, he then was with Pfizer for a while, and we've been able to recruit him here very happily to come to University of Nebraska. So it's my pleasure to introduce the NU Vice President and Harlan Vice Chancellor of the Institute of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Dr. Ronnie Green.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Larry, for the introduction. I need to get them to cut that thing down substantially. But it's a pleasure to welcome you to Lincoln and welcome you to the university. You sit here right at the edge of the city campus of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. We have an east campus, as many of you know, about a mile and a half further east. This is a really exciting time for us in agriculture. It's a really exciting time in terms of what you think we need to do in the future, and you think about the innovations and challenges that are out ahead of us. Larry told you about my background in the beef industry. I see a lot of faces around the room, some of you who I haven't seen in a while in the industry, and the beef industry is no different. We've got some big challenges ahead of us, some big opportunities ahead of us, and thanks to the generosity of Kenny Ng and in honor of his wife Caroline, the opportunity to invest in this area of research, in this area to do innovation in the industry, and to think differently in some ways than we've thought traditionally is pretty important. And Kenny, thank you very much for what you've done to bring that about. I know I say that on behalf of Russell from A&M and Clint's here from Oklahoma State, and certainly here at the University of Nebraska. We appreciate your gift very, very much. I had a visitor in my office this morning. We had a little bit of discussion about this, and he knows who he is. He's sitting in the audience. And we talked a little bit about what some of the challenges are that are ahead of the beef industry. There's some collective wisdom in this room when I look around the room at how many years some of you have been in this business and been associated with different aspects of the business. And when you think about some of the things that lie ahead, and I'm going to use a statistic here that I think is an important one for you to remember, the fact that by 2050 we expect, you hear the statistic you usually hear is 2 billion more people doubling food production. The statistic you don't hear as often is that we expect by 2050 there to be 3 billion more people in the world eating animal protein than today. And that's a pretty profound statistic when you start thinking about it. And you think about the beef supply chain and the beef part of that animal protein equation and what's going to be required to meet that need and meet that demand in a sustainable way long term, that's a pretty big challenge ahead of us and a pretty big opportunity ahead of us as an industry here in the U.S. that has driven that industry, as you know, historically worldwide. So we're excited about what those opportunities are. I think you'll see in the packet of information, I understand Dr. Berger has provided to you a copy of the Strategic Discussions for Nebraska publication that we just put out here a few weeks ago. That's an annual publication. This one's focused on the beef industry, and it's focused on how the industry's changing, how the industry demographics are changing. Many of us are well aware of that, what's happened in the industry in recent years, and how we expect those demographics to change into the future. One of the things that I've said for a long time, some of you in the room will remember this from some of those previous jobs that Larry was talking about that I've held in the industry. I've said for a long time, the number one thing we're going to have to do to improve the beef industry is to improve the efficiency of nutrient utilization and to improve the ability to put what we put through these animals to add value to the product, that in order for us to be sustainable long term, we're going to have some innovation to do ahead of us. And I think we all recognize that and that opportunity. So to be here and to be talking about that innovation, to have the chance to listen to that, in this case on the cow-calf side, and some interesting things that are even happening semantically around the industry with how dry lotting of cows is working for various purposes, I think is a right direction and on the right road for us to be talking about. So again, welcome to the University of Nebraska. I hope you'll enjoy. Those of you that are here from off of our campus will enjoy being here the next couple of days. If you choose to stay and watch us play UCLA on Friday, we'd be happy to have you here in town as part of that process. We're looking forward to that on Saturday and experience the growth that you'll see around you here in Lincoln. I was just sharing with Russell, there's a tremendous amount of growth that has happened just next door to you here in this city in the last few years. Last thing I'll say to you is I'm really optimistic for the future of agriculture. I hope many of you know that. We have just released our enrollment data here at the University of Nebraska this past week for the current academic year. We have an all-time record enrollment at the university. We have an all-time record enrollment in agriculture at the university. There are a number of institutions around the country that are experiencing that, and I think there's a lot of optimism around that number to see young people being attracted back into our fields, to go back not just into agribusiness, but into production agriculture for the first time in a long time. So thanks for being here. We look forward to a great conference. I actually am going to sit and listen to cattle for the next 3 hours. Don't get a chance to do that very often, and I look forward to seeing many of you. Welcome to Nebraska.